الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salli ala Rasulil Kareem. Amma ba'd. How long do I go on for? Where's my brother Yusuf? So I know how long to stop. How long do you want me to go on for?
As long as you want to.
Oh, no.
So 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're all getting sleeping.
It's about 20 minutes, okay? 20, 25 minutes?
That's what I'm gonna go. The
Inshallah.
food we were thinking around, we'll eat around the 8:45, maybe some Q&A, but it's entirely up to you.
So it starts, that's 25 minutes.
Yeah, inshallah.
So what we're going to do, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, this book is a very special book. I studied it. It's called Mishkat al-Masabih. It was written by 2 scholars. One of them, he had passed away, and he had written a book, and the way he formats his book is he has 2 chapters. In the first chapter, he has only hadith from Shaykhain. Who are Shaykhain? Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim rahimahullah. And in the second chapter, he brings in all these other ahadith from the other books. And then there was another scholar who came, Khatib Tabrizi, and he came and he wrote a 3rd chapter, and then he also wrote, they never told you which Sahabi narrated the hadith. He added that aspect, and then a 3rd section to each chapter, each topic, and adding other ahadith that the original scholar had missed. So this hadith we're going to talk about when a person passes away. This is a group of series. So the first 3 weeks are going to talk about from death till Qiyamah, including Qiyamah. Then the 3 weeks after that we'll talk on Jannah, and the 3 weeks after that on Jahannam. Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhuma, it comes about him that when he used to come and go to a grave, he used to cry profusely, and he used to cry very, very much. But when he would hear about Jannah, Jahannam, he would cry, but not as much. So someone said to him that, why is it that you cry so much when you hear about when you're at a grave or you hear about the qabr, but you don't cry as much when you hear about Jannah or Jahannam? So he says that the qabr is the first step. If you pass this step, then everything else is okay. It's like a person. Anyone a frequent flyer over here? No one's a frequent flyer? One person here? When you're a frequent flyer, one thing is that you buy your ticket from beginning, business class, first class. So then you also get the lounge, and from there you know that I'm going to get this business first class seat, I'm going to go travel. And there's another one who's working on the upgrade. Now they don't know if I'm going to get upgraded or not. So they have to go to the same terminal as everybody else. They have to weigh it out. And if there is a possibility or opportunity, then you get upgraded. So he says if you pass right from the beginning, then the rest of the stage you will be passing. But if you fail right in the beginning, then the rest of the stage doesn't look good for you, unless you obviously have sadaqatul jariyah and that alters your fate or something. Or illa man rahima rabbi. So the hadith is وعن البراء بن عازب رضي الله تعالى عنه قال خرجنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في جنازة رجل من الأنصار. Bara ibn Azim was a unique Sahabi. He was 3-level Sahabi. He's a Sahabi, father is a Sahabi, and grandfather is a Sahabi. So most of the Sahaba were, 99% were all converts. They accepted Islam. They were not born Muslim. They accepted Islam. And the reason why I don't like to use the word revert instead of convert is because there is a common misconception that the Prophet ﷺ said every person, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, that everyone is born on fitrah. And people place that as Islam. Then the Prophet said they either make them a Jewish person or a Christian, but the Prophet isn't saying that each person is born with Islam. He's saying each person is born with the ability of guiding themselves to Islam, to arriving at the conclusion of Islam. He's not saying you are born with La ilaha illallah. And some people get offended with this revert, convert terminology, but the asl is that a person converts. The Sahaba, they converted. There's nothing wrong with using it. And if you want to use the word revert, that's up to you. So he says, we're with the Prophet ﷺ, and we went with him. And we see this janaza of an Ansari person. And who is an Ansari? People of Medina. And who is a Muhajir? The ones who migrated from Mecca to Medina, to Munawwara. So the Ansar are called Ansar. What their defining quality was what? They helped other people. They helped Sa'ad ibn Rabi' radiallahu anhu, the famous story with him and Abdurrahman ibn Auf. He came and the Prophet ﷺ made them 2 brothers. Sa'ad ibn Rabi' says that I have 2 homes. Whichever home you like, it's yours. I have 2 businesses, 2 gardens. Whichever one you like, you're my brother now, it's yours. I have 2 wives. Now obviously this is the early part of Islam and he's speaking more out of passion and emotion and you're not supposed to do this. But it's emotion. It's to capture the emotion. And Abdurrahman bin Auf says, it's okay. Just tell me where the marketplace is. You keep, may Allah put barakat in your list. And what do? When Ramadan time comes, we see the cake that hasn't been eaten up. And then now we cut it up a little bit, give it to the masjid. No one's drinking the shake, give it to the masjid. Give Allah what is right, not what is left. Well, not your leftovers, but give him the tayyib, the best of your wealth. Allah will put barakat and bless your wealth. So he says, فَانْتَهِينَا إِلَى الْقَبْرِ. We came and we stopped at the grave. وَلَمَّا يُلْحَدْ. And when the grave was carved. So there are two types of graves. One is called lihad and one is called shiq. How many of you are familiar with this? Lihad and shiq. So there's one grave that when you bury a person, you bury it downwards, and then you have this little compartment in the middle of it. You put the body, you put bricks or you put plank on top of it, and then you put the dirt on top. Then there is something called lihad, which, how many of you seen a burial in Madinah al-Munawwarah? In Jannat al-Baqiyah? One person. What do? It's an L shape. So you bury the grave, and then you carve out the compartment underneath. And then you put the individual inside, you break it up, and then you put the dirt down. Not every single grave's dirt can do a lihad. Otherwise, the dirt will just fall upon each other. The Prophet got buried in lihad. He got buried in the format of lihad. And generally, all the graves of Madinah al-Munawwarah, Baqir, the way the dirt is, it is done in a lihad, in an L shape. So the body is put inside, they break it up, and then they put the dirt down. So there's two ways of doing it. Now, when you pass away, follow the dirt that's common in the graveyard. Otherwise, the grave will collapse, and it won't be able to handle the lihad. So that way, following that concept. So he says, فَجَلَسَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَجَلَسْنَا حَوْلَهُ. The Prophet of Allah sat, and we sat around. This was the Sahaba, the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sat, we sat. And I tell the youngsters all the time, when you see your father or mother sitting down inside the living room, just go sit down. And just spend that time. It doesn't have to be an actual thing that they want to say to you, but the gems that come from the heart at that moment is directed directly to you and straight for you and only for you. So he says, كَأَنَّ عَلَى رُؤُوسِنَا الطَّيْرِ. He says the way we sat by the Prophet, the adab we had, we were stones. If a bird wanted to come and sit on our head, it could sit on our head. It was as if we would be motionless in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a hadith of Sahih Muslim that Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhuma says that when he fought against the Prophet, he fought with the Prophet, and then he conquered which country? Which famous country? Egypt. Egyptian people. They're much as Amr ibn al-As over there. The ajib thing is, nobody knows where his grave is. That's the ajib thing. In Egypt, you'll find graves of everybody. I was walking in the street and saw Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani is buried over here. It's okay, they don't have a plank, Ibn Hajar. It's business for some people as well. But his grave, nobody knows. And his masjid is built over there. Obviously, it's not the same as it's been years. It's been expanded. So when he was dying, his son was praising him. He lived an amazing life. He did so much for Islam. He followed the Prophet here of Sahabi. And he was saying his afterwards. We love hearing praise. We want to hear good things about ourselves. And Amr ibn al-As on his deathbed. And he says to him, and there's this huge conversation between him and his son. How is death? Tell me about death. What is the experience of death? My father, tell me, how does it feel? I know this is insensitive, but no one else can tell me after you that how is death going to feel? And then he goes on to describe death and the pain he feels, and that a pain like that he's never felt in his life before, and the difficulties and the agonizing and the scene. Someone was saying the other day, I was watching this video when Kobe Bryant died, right? They were talking about when the helicopter must have fell off. The man had his daughter next to him. What was racing through that person's mind at that moment? When you know it's the inevitable end. Everything in your life flashes before you. Every moment. We have at least tawbah. We have somewhere to go back to, a concept to go back to. But just think, the 500 million net worth means nothing. The brand name means nothing. I am sure that he would give it all up for another day with his family, for another moment with his family, for another second with his daughter. And everyone is so focused on Kobe Bryant's death. There was also a 13-year-old, and death knows no age limit. We see, the hardest graves to see are the youngsters' ones. They say the heaviest coffins, the smallest coffins are the heaviest. When you hold, and you just one time take your family to the graveyard and just look at numbers, and nothing hits you more than when you see a number that is after your date of birth. And then you realize that I'm already living on borrowed time. So he goes on, and he says, وَفِي يَدِهِ عَوْدٌ يَنْتِتُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. He says he had a stick and he was poking the ground. فَرَفَعَ رَأْسَهُ. He raised his head, and the Sahaba are listening. فَقَالَ اسْتَعِيذُوا بِاللَّهِ مِنْ عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ مَرَّتَيْنِ أَوْ ثَلَاثًا. Then he says, ask Allah constantly to protect you from the azab and the punishment of the grave. Azab means punishment. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min azab al-qabr. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min fitnat al-qabr. He says, do this over and over again. The Prophet is a man of few words, but he says this multiple times. إن العبد المؤمن إذا كان في انقطاع من الدنيا وإقبال في الآخرة نزل إليه ملائكة من السماء بيض الوجه وجوه. That when the time comes that the earthly life is exiting and the Akhirah is coming, angels come down all white in their fashion and their pattern. كأن وجوههم الشمس, as if their faces are as bright as the sun. معهم كفن من أكفان الجنة. They have shrouds and they have kafan. What is a kafan? The shroud which you will wrap up, and he says they will come with the akfan, with the kafan of Jannah at that moment. You know, it's interesting. Ghazali rahmatullahi alayhi says in one place that sometimes we're so busy planning for the future that the cloth that we will be buried with has already been sold in the marketplace. That is being sold in the marketplace, and we're planning for decades in advance. What did everyone say? That his career was just beginning, that he had so much more to offer. But it's life. We don't know. And that's why every moment and every second, make an Allah second in every moment. Do tawbah. At this moment, everyone do tawbah. Ya Allah, forgive our sins. We can't guarantee the step outside. So then he says, مَعَهُمْ كَفَنٌ مِّنْ أَكْفَانِ الْجَنَّةِ وَحُنُوطٌ مِّنْ حُنُوطِ الْجَنَّةِ. They have fragrance from Jannah. And this is in the metaphorical realm. The barzakh, this is called barzakh. It's not the very grave you're looking at under the ground. So the grave that you see over here, it's not that underneath that ground exactly. This is a different realm. Because there are people whose bodies get burnt. There's people who a lion eats them or an animal eats them or something of that sort, or they have ashes. This is a metaphorical realm. This is a separate realm where Allah makes these entities and these things occur and happen. حَتَّى يَجْلِسُوا مِنْهُ مَدَّ الْبَصَرِ. That he says that they come and they sit next to him as far as an eyesight. You know, as far as your eyesight goes, they're waiting for that individual. Malikul Mawti alayhi salam. This is the angel of death. What is the most famous angel? What's his name? Jibreel. What is the angel who brings food and rain? Mikael. What is the angel that will blow the trumpet? Israfil. Where do we know the names of Jibreel and Mikael from? The Quran. Where do we know the name of Israfil from? No, not in the Quran. Hadith. What's the name of the angel of death?
Israfil.
No.
Mikael.
Jibreel.
His name is commonly said as? Someone said it. No, someone said, I heard someone say Israel. Not Israel. Even though they are like most. His name is not mentioned anywhere in Hadith. And one of the hikmah, wisdom behind this is that your time of death is unknown. Your place of death is unknown. How you will die is unknown. And even the name of the angel that will take his soul is unknown. Imam Malik rahmatullahi one time, he lived his entire life in Medina. Only once he did Hajj. So he wanted to do Hajj and he sees a dream. But he doesn't know if he's going to make it. He doesn't want to die in Makkah, he wants to die in Medina. The Prophet said, whoever can die in Medina. So he sees the Prophet in his dream. He says, Ya Rasulullah, when will I die? And the Prophet went like this. Now he wakes up. What is it, 5 days, 5 hours, 5 weeks, 5 months, what does this mean? So he sends a message to Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah, who was a master dream interpreter. He said, what does this mean? The Prophet said, 5. How much 5? He said, the Prophet isn't telling you how long. خَمْسٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. There are 5 things only Allah knows. That's the hadith. And in the Quran, Allah mentions the 5 things, and one of them is what? Death. بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. Nobody knows this. Maybe to God. So then he says, the angel of death comes. حَتَّى يَجْلِسَ عِنْدَ رَأْسَهُ. The angel of death sits by his head. فَيَقُولُ أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الطَّيِّبَةُ. Oh, beautiful soul, oh, amazing person. أَخْرِجِي إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ. Come out towards the love of Allah, towards the happiness of Allah, towards the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the forgiveness of Allah. قَالَ فَتَخْرُجُ تَسِيلُ كَمَا تَسِيلُ الْقَطْرَةُ مِنَ السَّقَاءِ. He says he comes out the way when water pours out, and very smoothly. When you turn on a tap, how does the water smoothly pours out? It comes out. This is how your soul will smoothly come out of you. فَيَأْخُذَهَا. He takes it. فَإِذَا أَخَذَهَا لَمْ يَدْعُوهَا في يده طرفة عين حتى يأخذوها. As it is exiting, he doesn't let it go for even a second. He has it. فيجعلوها في ذلك الكفن وفي ذلك الحنوط. So one thing is that the body has been shrouded. Now the soul is being shrouded. In another hadith, the Prophet says that the souls of the believers will be put into green birds, and they will go and they will tour Jannah and they will come back. Now what does green bird mean? Airplane, helicopter. Think of it like that. That you get a aerial view of Jannah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so He shows you that this is where your abode is going to be. Before you buy a property, what do? You go look inside the property. You see the entire area. You see on Google Maps, Google Earth, how does it look? How is the land, the landscape, the roads? Before that, Allah shows you every single thing. And then He says, وَيَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا كَأَطْيَبِ نَفْحَةٍ مِسْكٍ وُجِزَتْ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْأَرْضِ. He says, then you could smell. Not only is this person in a beautiful shroud, but fragrance is coming out of that individual. قال فيسعدون بها فلا يمرون على ملأ من الملائكة إلا قالوا. He says they are going up, they take the soul, and then they go up in this metaphysical, metaphorical world. And as they are ascending, there's groups of angels. Now, they're smelling. You know when somebody walks and they have a good fragrance on them? I don't know if it was the brother I prayed next to or there's some itar or something, but the moment I stood next to him, I'd be putting some nice itar on. Yeah. Yes, I smelled it immediately. The moment I came, I clocked it immediately. And I'm like, is there a Febreze around here, or what is this fragrance that is coming? And you should dress like that. Your presence should be known by the fragrance that you have. The Prophet forbade us from having onion and garlic, raw onions and garlic, before coming into the masjid, so that the bad fragrance doesn't come. And then people smoke and then come inside the masjid. No, cleanse yourself. Because the one who doesn't smoke, he can't stand it. That's all he's thinking about. Or Ramadan is coming up. We burp. And then they leave a cloud of whatever their iftar was. Their samosa, their chaat, their this, their that. So then he says, as the angels are smelling, they say, مَا هَذَا الرُّوحُ الطَّيِّبُ. What is this? Which soul is this? It smells so good. فَيَقُولُونَ فُلَانُ ابْنُ فُلَانُ. Not only do they mention you, they mention your father's name as well. They say, this is such and such person. This is who they are. And that's why you can smell their presence and know that who they are. فيقولون فلان ابن فلان بأحسن أسمائه التي كانوا يسمونه بها في الدنيا. In the most beautiful name. Oh, this person is an amazing. This is a haji. This is a musalli. This is so and so. This is Sheikh so and so. This is this individual so and so. And they call you by your names and your qualities and all the beloved things. Whether someone calls you a father, you know, when someone passes away, they say beloved father, beloved brother, beloved this, beloved that, and they put it on the tombstone. But the angels echo these sentiments to the malaika. And in the heavens you're going to become known. حَتَّى يَنْتَهُ بِهَا السَّمَاءِ الدُّنْيَا. Then when the earthly heavens finish, فَيَسْتَفْتِحُونَ لَهُ فَيُفْتَحُ لَهُمْ فَيَشِيعُ مِنْ كُلِّ سَمَاءٍ مُقَرَّبُوهَا إِلَى السَّمَاءِ الَّتِي تَلِيهَا. Then they cross over the different heavens as they are going over. حَتَّى يُنْتَهَى بِهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ السَّابِعَةِ. Until they reach the seventh heaven. فَيَقُولُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ اكْتُبُوا كِتَابَ عَبْدِي فِي عِلِّيِّينَ. Then Allah says, write this person's name in the highest names, in the elite people. Put them in the roster of the greatest individuals, the best of people. Document their name. Put them down, pen them down. وَعِيدُوا إِلَىٰ أَرْضٍ فَإِنِّي مِنْهَا خَلَقْتُهُمْ. Allah says, go back to the earth. Take his soul back. You've shown him the tour of the heavens. Take him back to the earth. For I have created him from the earth. وَفِيهَا أُعِيدُهُمْ. And in there I shall return him. وَمِنْهَا أُخْرِجُهُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. And Allah says, and another time I will pull their souls out from inside the earth. قَالَ فَتُعَادُ رُوحُهُ فِي جَسَدِهِ. Then that person's soul will come back inside them. وَيَأْتِيهِ مَلِكَانِ. Two angels will come to that person. مَلَكَانِ. فَيَجْلِسَانِهِ. They will sit next to him. فَيُقُولَانِ لَهُ. And they will ask him, مَا رَبُّكَ. Who is your Allah? Who are these two angels? Who? Munkar and Nakir. Two angels that will come to each person. And it's a test. Test of 3 questions. Simple questions that we all know. But do we really know the answer? Do we feel the answer? Or is it just on our tongue? Is it just something we say out of custom? Or do we really know what it is? They say, Man Rabbuk, فَيَقُولُ Rabbi Allah. Who is your Allah? And they will say, who is your Lord? They say, my Lord is Allah. فَيَقُولُانِ لَهُ مَا دِينُكَ. What religion do you follow? فَيَقُول دِينِي الْإِسْلام. My religion is Islam. فيقولان له ما هذا الرجل الذي بعث فيكم. Then they will have either a show of the Prophet ﷺ, an image of the Prophet, or they will point towards the Prophet's grave. There is so many opinions in regards to this. And they will say, who is this man? And then, even though we've never seen the Prophet, but if the heart recognizes the individual, then they know it's the Prophet ﷺ. That is why the scholars write in the realms of dreams. If you see Rasulullah ﷺ, how do you know you saw Rasulullah ﷺ? If in your heart that this is Rasulullah ﷺ, this is the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Prophet ﷺ says in a hadith of Bukhari, Man ra'ani fil manami faqad ra'ani wa sayarani fil yaqظة. If you see me in your dream, you have seen me and you will see me in real life. فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَمْ يَتَمَثَّلْ بِي. Shaitan doesn't have the ability to take the form of the Prophet ﷺ. Sometimes someone sees a dream in where they see the Prophet telling them, something negative, or they see the Prophet in a different form. And some scholars write in the essence of dream interpretation that this is a reflection of our a'mal and our deeds. And that is why we are seeing it in that pattern. Otherwise, the Prophet ﷺ is an essence of purity, and shaitan cannot take its form. فَيَقُولَانِ لَهُ وَمَا عِلْمُكَ. What knowledge do you have? فَيَقُولُ قَرَأْتُ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ فَآمَنْتُ بِهِ وَصَدَّقْتُ. He said, I read the book of Allah and I accepted it. فَيُنَادِي مُنَادٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. And you hear a heavenly sound. أَنْ قَدْ صَدَقَ عَبَدِي. My servant has spoken the truth. فَأَفْرِشُوهُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. Put him into Jannah. وَأَلْبِسُوهُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. And wrap him into Jannah. وَافْتَحُوا لَهُ بَابًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. And open a door so he could see Jannah. So you're sitting in your grave and you have this 4K, better than 4K, like this 4D element. You can feel, smell, and feel this essence. I was just 2 days ago, went to the New York Aquarium. Anyone from New York here? One person? Have you been to the aquarium in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
I have seen homes that have bigger aquariums than those aquariums. It's a very small aquarium. Very tiny, 20-25 minutes, and it's enough. So you see the whole thing. Not a very big aquarium at all. And there's this 4D theater there. And you can feel the wind blowing on you, and you see the shark coming, and you can see the water spraying. Anyone been in a 4D movie before? See 4D? What happens in a 4D movie? You can experience it. You feel it, whether it's Avatar or whatever other things that come on, you can experience it, you can feel it. And the same thing happens in your grave. When you're in Jannah, when you're headed for Jannah, you can feel and experience the blessings of Jannah. So he says, فَيَأْتِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِهِ وَطِيبِهَا فَيُفْسَحُ لَهُ فِي قَبْرِهِ مَدَّ بَصْرِهِ. Now the grave is how long? 6 feet? 5?
3.
Is it 3? Huh? 3 feet? 2 or 3 feet, right? It's thin. But when you're in your grave and you're destined for Jannah, then your grave goes so far wide, madda basari, as far as your eyesight can go. One day stand in a hill or in a desert and see how far you can go. And that much becomes yours. You're not in a tight grave. And when you feel this, the claustrophobia goes away. Many of us suffer from claustrophobia in a closed room, and all of a sudden you start feeling uncomfortable. So then he says, قال ويأتيه رجل حسن الوجه حسن الثياب. That a person comes, beautiful face, beautiful clothes, طيب الريح, the most amazing fragrance and cologne and perfume that they have. فيقول أبشر بالذي يسرك هذا يومك الذي كنت توعد. Says, congratulations and glad tidings. You've made it. You know when you graduate and you get that certification, an angel comes and says, you've got it. You've passed. You're ready. فيقول له من أنت. He says, who are you? I don't know you. And you don't seem like an angel. Who are you? فوجهك الوجه يجيء بالخير فيقول أنا عملك الصالح. He says, I'm your good deeds. they're personified into an individual. And you can see them as a person. Beautiful. And your actions, all your good deeds become this person. فيقول ربي أقم الساعة ربي أقم الساعة حتى أرجع إلى أهلي ومالي. Then he says, oh Allah, let Qiyamah happen. Let Qiyamah happen so I can meet my family. I can see them again. And I can be with them again. There's a famous poem. The poet says, عليكم سلام الله إني راحل وعيناي من خوف التفرق تدمع. Assalamu alaikum, I'm leaving. And my heart is broken and tears are flowing because of our separation. فإن نحن عشنا. If Allah gives us life, then life will bring us together. وإن نحن متنا فالقيامة تجمع. But if death is decreed for us, then I will see you at the plains of Qiyamah on the day of judgment. Then the next part of the hadith is وَإِنَّ الْعَبْدَ الْكَافِرِ. What happens with a disbeliever? Inshallah, we will continue that next week. Is there any questions that anyone has?
One question. So on the day of Qiyamah, actually people say like everybody will be scared, and so in the grave, if you already know where you're going to go to, why do you be scared?
Because the grave is transitory. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِنْ قَسَى عَمْرُ بْنُ آدَمْ إِلَّا ثَلَاثٍ. That when we pass away, that is just the first element. All of our deeds get cut off, besides three types of deeds. Number one, waladun salih. If you have a righteous child, a good child who does good deeds, then you get the good deeds for it. So now you're getting a better result. So even if you may not have done too good, now that situation can change. That's number one. Number two, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Oh, ilmun allamahu." That if you have any knowledge, you taught someone how to pray. Now that person starts praying, telling people to do good, or you gave some good advice, or as our brother is mashallah in the interfaith line, he goes and someone takes the book and works on it and does effort with it. Now what happens? That all those people that benefited from that, the work of our brother Ayman, right? From our brother Ayman's work, every single person that does it, he's getting the good deed for it. And the third thing the Prophet says, sadaqah, or a charity. In the one hadith the Prophet says, a tree. Another hadith he says, a well. So there are some people that say that these are the only three ways you can get sadaqah jariyah, and nothing else. This is, in my opinion, not a accurate understanding of the hadith. Because there's a hadith in Abu Dawood that the Prophet ﷺ, when he went to Hajjat al-Wada', he sacrificed 63 camels. And he said, this is for my ummah, the one that has come and the one that is to come. So he bestowed, he gave a gift of reward onwards to those who were deceased. And the correct opinion in Isal al-Thawab, or the majority opinion in it, is that Isal al-Thawab could be done by anyone, meaning that you can confer reward upon anyone. And one of the examples of this is the hadith of Abu Dawood. And the second thing is that you can do hajj for someone. And when you do hajj for them, there's salah inside there, there's dhikr in there, there's ibadah in there, there's Quran, all of those good deeds go. So that is the one angle of it. So why did the Prophet say these three things? Well, the one thing is waladun salih, which is your bodily actions, right? You've given off a child, you've given off an offspring. So no one is going to do dua for you the way your child is going to do dua for you. Not your grandchildren, nobody else will pray for you or do good for you the way your child will do it. Then the second level is ilmun allamahum. That's intellectual deeds. So use your brain for good, and Allah. And now, if a person reads Quran, Qul huwallahu ahad 3 times, or Qul huwallahu ahad, then give the reward. So Allah bestow this reward to the deceased. Someone says, okay, no, that doesn't happen. All right, but what if I taught someone Surah Fatiha? Does he get the reward? Yes, he does. Why is there a difference? Okay, the hadith says waladun salih. What about if a daughter does it, or a grandson does it, or a cousin does it, or a brother, or a father? Does the reward not go? No. This is called qayd ittifaqi, not qayd ihtirazi. Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ, this is a coincidental restriction, not a explicit restriction that it can only happen with these three types of things. The third action is charity. So now if I made a masjid and someone is reading Quran inside that masjid, do I get the reward? Yes. But then you're saying that if someone reads Quran and then says, Allah send the reward to that person, and that won't happen. That doesn't make sense. So the idea is that this is called qayd ittifaqi, which means that it is because these three methods are most common. It's not that these are the only three methods. And I'll give you another example in the Quran. Anyone a hafiz here? Yeah, right? Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتَيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى إِنْ أَرَدْنَا تَحَسُّنًا. Don't force your daughters to commit zina Adultery. In aradna tahassuna. What does in aradna tahassuna mean? No. In aradna, in means what? If. Aradna, the desire. Tahassunan, to be pure and chaste. So Allah saying, don't force them to commit zina if they want to be chaste. Are you saying, oh, so if they don't want to be chaste, they want to be a TikTok model or Instagram model, then it's okay. Push them. No. Allah is saying this is qayd ittifaqi. This means that they're trying to be better and chaste, and then you're forcing them. Look how bad this is. I'll give you another example. The ayat of safar in the Quran. وَإِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. What's the... فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَقْصُرُوا مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ. What's the line after that? In khiftum. Allah says in khiftum. That when you travel, you can do qasr. In khiftum. If you fear. Now when you go to travel somewhere, are you doing qasr? When you go travel? Do you have any fear at that time? No. The Prophet did it without fear in so many places. What is this? This is qayd ittifaqi. A coincidental condition because it happens, it's more needed at that time. And when you're scared, you have to wrap up your salah quickly, and then it's more needed at that time. So, at the same time, the Prophet says, مَنْ دَلَّ عَلَى خَيْرٍ فَلَهُ أَجْرُ مِثْلِ فَاعِلِهِ. If I tell you to do good, everyone who does it after that will get the reward. I taught you how to pray salah, and you taught 10 people, they taught 100, I get the reward of it till the day of judgment. At the same time, Tabi, the Prophet said, all the murders, he murdered his brother, right? He was the first one to institutionalize murder in the history of the world. So every murder after that, he gets the bad deed for it. So a person can have a stage in the grave, but if their reflective deeds alter, you started a sin in a community, may Allah protect everyone. Now people are doing it. Someone has a club. Now every sin that's happening after that, they're getting the sin back of it, perpetually. So the grave is an indication, but it's not the all end. Make sense? Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. I will try to stop at a hard 8:45. This will be a weekly series for 2 more weeks. Next week we will talk about the disbeliever. Then the week after we will talk about Qiyamah in its whole, from the blowing of the trumpet till Shafa'at al-Kubra, what takes place, how they go and all of that. And then the weeks after we'll do Jannah and Jahannam, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Your son?
Yeah, this guy here.
MashaAllah. What is his name? Zakaria. Yes, sir. But you are responsible because you are the one who motivated it. So if I touch someone, how you steal. Now that person continues stealing, it's still my deed. You just go. You have to lay Allah forgive me, so I need to say evil, and Allah will forgive me, inshallah. You can't get forgiven.
Grab the plate and get started.
How are you? Where's your brother? How he moves? It's only you here. With mom here? Come on, yeah. That's your father? So who passed away? The uncle?
My grandfather and my aunt.
In Frisco that time with your grandfather? When I met you at the Janazah, was your aunt?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, nice to meet you. My When he said father, I got the
We're just gonna put this down. We'll leave it around. Let's go get it.
Brother Aiden, where have you been?
Let's put it on
Is it around here?
Commission.
Why don't you, do you know Imam Mazhab?
I think so.
Subedar from IIT. Have you met him? Have you discussed your father with him?
He was aware of what I was working on in
You guys want to eat? You want to take some home? You sure?
Let's put it out.
Yeah.
Try to get everybody on here.
You don't want to eat?
every other day.
Yeah.